introduction of the program and the webinar. So welcome and a warm good evening to everyone for another series of Power Hour with Sign that we've been doing since the lockdown. We started in April and we've been having a lot of interesting sessions which has been organized by Sign in partnership with our partners across various interesting thematic areas. And this is the 17th such Power Hour series which has been organized. And if you are attending for the first time, we have all the recordings of our webinars on the Sign YouTube channel. You could definitely go there, subscribe, and view the other sessions that we have done. And now, talking about this particular session, this came in the software patenting in India came in as a topic while we were doing the progress review of few of our Sign startups, and we kind of felt that there was a patentability aspect, but somehow people are not fully aware in terms of whether it could be patented or not, whether it makes sense in patenting. Um, would this get granted in India? Should I file in the US or some other countries where things are? We are under the impression that software patents get granted in such countries outside India. What would be the right strategy, etc. And so we started with the initial call with Ravi Bola from KNS Partners, and then we thought, hey, this would be a good topic for the webinar, and that's how he connected Sign with Pravir and Venkatesh and Varun, and that's how this whole conversation started. So I'd like to welcome the panelists for today. We have Pravir Singh and Venkatesh Yeshan from KNS Partners. So welcome both of you. And I'll just quickly do an introduction about both KNS and Pravir and Venkatesh. So KNS Partners as a firm started in 1994, and they have a 120 member team and offices based in 5 major cities in India, namely Mumbai, Bangalore, Gurugram, New Delhi, Chennai, and Hyderabad. So that's more than 5, 6 cities, I guess. And to introduce our first panelist, I would like to welcome and invite Pravir Kumar Singh. He is a senior associate at KNS Partners and is based out of Pune. And he's been into the patent practice for more than 10 years now. And Pravir has a bachelor's degree in computer science engineering and a PG diploma in patent law. And he's also a registered patent agent, and he specializes in handling patents, drafting, and patent prosecution in areas of computer science, electronics, and telecommunication, along with medical diagnostics and software-related matters, both in India and overseas. Thanks, Pravir, and welcome once again.
Thank you for your kind introduction.
Thank you. Next, I would like to invite and welcome Venkatesh. So Venkatesh is also a senior associate. He is based out of the Mumbai office at KNS Partners, and he has a multidisciplinary research and industry experience covering semiconductor technology, nanotechnology, electronics, telecommunication, and information technology. And Dr. Venkatesh is a PhD in applied physics, a master's in nanoscale science and technology, and a bachelor's degree in also has a bachelor's degree in electronics. And prior to joining KNS Partners, Venkatesh worked for European IP firm in the Netherlands before moving to India. Welcome, Venkatesh, and thanks for accepting our invite for this webinar. So without any further ado, I would hand it over to Pravir, and I'll stop my screen share as well. So Pravir, if you could, the format is we'll have both presentations from Pravir and Venkatesh. And so Pravir will be covering mostly the software, what aspect of software can be patented, and with few case studies, and Venkatesh will be covering the timelines and some of the other schemes which are available for Indian startups for applying for patent and patenting aid, which is provided by the government. Thank you so much, and over to you, Pravir.
Thank you so much, and Happy New Year to each and every one of you. So without delaying, I'll start my presentation. So basically, in today's topic, I have divided it into 2 sections. The first section, I'll warm up the participants with the basic fundamental criteria, what is patentable, what is not patentable, and how we get the patent. And then we will, in the second part, see how the software, how we can make the software thing patentable. So we'll start with one of our first slide, in which we generally introduce our firm, KNS Partners. This is 1994 IP boutique firm with a vision of having an finest IP law firm in India. And this is a small breakup of our team. Then we will have this session for the warm-up. So I'll keep this session as a dialogue rather than a lecture. So I request all the participants to interact with me, interact with each other, and make this session as a dialogue. So can anyone identify quickly on what part the patent will be applied among these two products?
You can type on the chat.
Or you can type on the chat. Yeah. Anyone?
There are some answers just come in the chat box. So I'll just read out shape, design of the bottle, the text saying happiness, the bottle aesthetic design, the design, number for displayed, number for the displayed products, patent for invention, water content, logo, design process. These are some of the responses.
Yeah. So the patent will be applied on the product, that is actually the paste in this case. And in this case, the patent will be applied on the energy drink. The trademark will be applied on the name or the brand name of the toothpaste. And that in this case, that will be on the name of that energy drink, and the design on the design or the shape of that toothpaste, paste and the bottle. I'll take another example in which some other IP rights will be also be covered. If you'll see, the patents will be applied. So first of all, can anyone guess why we need different types of IP rights, like patents, trademarks, design, and copyrights for a single product? Why not just file a patent, get a patent, and just move on? Can anyone guess?
So Vikram says to protect intellectual creations, and all are different categories is another answer. Patent takes longer and it is not for the lifetime, so 20-year period. To protect both idea and expression of the idea, to protect the competition. Ideas can be of any form, idea, brand names, different ways of protecting IPRs.
Okay, thank you. So one of the primary reasons why we have to file all the or take all the IP rights on the product, on the single product, is the different level of or the scope of protection which we get from the patent office or from the IP office. For example, your patent will protect the functionality of the robot and not the brand name of your robot. So someone, for example, if you have taken only a patent on your robot and have not taken the trademark, then someone can, can copy the name of your name on their product and can sell them in the market. After that, you have rights to, to sue them and to take all the litigation against them. But there is a chances that someone can copy your product and can sell them into the market. So similarly, the trademarks protect the brand name of your robot. Design, it protects the shape of your robot. For example, if you have designed your robot in such a manner that it can climb the stairs, or it can put some one material from one conveyor to another conveyor in a workshop. So in this case, your design of the robot, how you have designed its hands and legs, is also important to be protected along with the functionality. So that's why design of the design registrations are important, which gives you a different level of scope of protection. And next comes to copyright. So copyright is for protecting your source code, because your robot cannot do anything by itself. You have to run a software, you have to give some instructions to your robot. So this is that is why we have another level of protection for the source code, that is a copyright. So now in the next slide, I'll show you what are the basic criteria of patentability and how we achieve them. So if you'll see under the uh, Act, we have three criteria, which is novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. So can you guess what is this? You can also speak. I mean,
We have muted the participants. That's why they can only chat at the moment.
okay. So if we can, if they can speak, I think it is fine. There's no issue.
Yeah, the settings are like that. That is why.
Okay, okay, okay.
People are saying pen, old ink pen, borrow ink, inkpot, it's a quill, I think.
Okay. So it's a very, old type of that Dwat wala pen where we used to uh, dip the nib and then used to write and then again. So what do you think? What was the problem of that pen? Any guesses?
Yeah, please type your answers in the chat. Yeah, we have to dip each time, is what Rahul Kumar is telling. Can't write
Okay,
continuously.
okay, okay. We have a smart audience. So repetitive dipping of the nib in the inkwell. That was the problem here. So now someone come with an idea that after facing this problem with this kind of pen. So do you think that this pen compared to the earlier one is novel?
Yeah.
Yes, it was novel. Do you think it is inventive?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it is inventive. How it is inventive? See, before asking this, I'll just go through the definition of the inventive step, which the Indian Patent Act says. It says that the feature of your invention should be technically advanced compared to the existing technical knowledge, or having economic significance, or both, and that feature should be non-obvious to a person skilled in art. Right. So there are three things. Your feature, that element of your invention should be technically advanced to the existing technical knowledge, or that feature should have an economical significance, or both, and that feature should not be appear to be an obvious to a skilled person. It should be a non-obvious to a skilled person. So what do you think, the inventive step, what is that technical feature in this pen which makes this inventive?
Right. We have an answer saying there's no need of dipping the pen again and again. Thereby, there's a technology advance.
Okay. So in this pen, I mean, the pen in the right hand side, what that feature of that pen is making the pen to preventing that pen to dip again and again?
Um,
Can anyone guess?
yeah, the cartridge, which is there, where the ink is stored.
The capillary tube. The capillary tube in your pen is actually enabling the flow of the ink while writing, and that makes the pen inventive over the earlier one, and also solving the problem of repetitive dipping of the nib into the inkwell. Right. So here the inventive step is this one, capillary tube. And of course, it was industrial application, having a capable of industrial application. So now someone came with another problem with this existing pen. So can you guess what problem this pen could have?
I think Pravir, staining is one issue probably with that pen. And we need to feel this ink, so staining issue while feeling as well as while writing sometimes. And as well as the sometimes when there is a water or something spill over the ink, it can spread.
Okay, okay. Okay, 1 second. My screen is visible to you?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so the problem was, after some interval of time, you have to refill the ink into that pen, right? So someone came with a solution with this pen. So do you think it is novel?
It is still a pen.
Yeah, it is still a pen, but it is solving the problem of opening of the tube at certain interval of time for refilling. Do you think it is novel?
Pravir, I don't think so, because it's still going to serve the same purpose and we still have to refill it after some time, right?
Okay. So if you could notice it carefully, there is a sucking mechanism where you can, actually suck the ink from the inkwell. So it was actually novel and it is actually inventive. But the inventive feature here is that squeezing knob. If you remember, we used to use these kind of pens where you could, squeeze the, that knob and could pull up the ink inside the your well in your tube. So of course it was inventive and it was having an industrial application. So when you will see this slide from left to right, you will see how the technology has evolved. So this is a very basic example, right? So the idea of taking this example is to, to sensitize or to sensitize all the participants to ask themselves that what is that feature which is making your invention novel? What is that one element which is making your invention inventive the existing technical knowledge, and how that invention is not obvious to the skilled person? So this question you may ask to your attorney as well while disclosing your invention. This question you can ask to yourself while doing your invention. So the purpose of this slide was this only. So in next we will now see how the software becomes patentable. So what do you think? What is a software code? What is a software? Any idea? Because today's topic is software patenting in India, right? And as Rakesh has said that in India it is not patentable, in other jurisdiction it is patentable, and this is a general conception of the people that software is patentable in US, it is not patentable in India. So let's file the application in US, not in India. But before that, I just want to understand what do you think that uh, what is the software?
So Pravir, participants are saying logical instructions to computer, set of instructions for enabling things to be done, language that machine can interpret and understand, set of instruction for computer to carry out certain tasks, logic translation from human to computer language,
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. So if you remember the previous example which I took for the robot, what was the software part in that robot? Can anyone guess? What was the software part in that robot?
The code, set of instructions.
The code. So what protection we showed against that code?
Copyright.
Copyright. It was not patent, right?
Hmm.
So actually, your software is nothing but a set of instructions written in any programming language, right? And it cannot be patented because it falls under a different set of IP category, which is copyright and which is not patent. So if you again recall that robot wala example, you will see that patent was on the functionality of that robot and not on the source code or on the software code. For the software code, you have to file the uh, copyright protection. But now question comes that how to make your software related inventions, or you can say computer related inventions, patentable. Now this question comes after this discussion, right? Since the software cannot be patented, it can only be, we get a copyright on it. So the question is how to patent a software related invention. So this is the correct term. how to patent a software related invention or a computer related invention, not software per se or a computer program per se. So do you think software alone can do anything by itself? If you have written a code of uh, of taking data from multiple sources and analyze the data and generate a report, so there is something behind the software also, or along with the software also, which enables the software code to run. Can you guess what is that?
I don't. Software alone, I don't think can be patented.
No, my question is, software alone cannot do in anything by itself. We need something with the software to execute that software or to run
Hardware,
that software. Yes,
hardware system.
yes. So see, in this slide, we will see how to make your software related inventions patentable, right? Followed by few examples. So software alone cannot do by anything by itself. It requires a hardware. But the patent office says that not every software and hardware combination is patentable. You have to qualify along with the three criteria which we have just learned, that is novelty, inventive step, industrial application. The another criteria is that your software or computer related invention should also satisfy the technical effect criteria. Then what is the technical effect here? Can anyone guess what is the technical effect?
Something which is tangible.
Apart from this tangibility,
How one answer we're getting is complexity of the code.
no, not complexity of the code. Complexity of the code is the headache of the programmer.
So to Pravit, to improve the overall, I mean, the application or the output of the whole thing.
Yeah, to bring some real world effect with your software hardware combination, to bring some technical effect, means technical where it comes from technology, to bring some effect related to a technology, right? So what could be a technical, then these combinations could become a patentable subject matter. And then what a technical effect could be? It could be an improvement in the computer or any technology, or could be a tangible effect. So we will, in the next slides, we will see how we are, with few examples, how we are satisfying these criteria and how we are, making the computer related inventions patentable. So this is the two things: technical effect, improvement in the technology, and tangible effect. So here are some of the judicial exceptions. I have compared all the things, uh, the judicial exceptions and the test to determine the patentability from various major jurisdictions, especially US, EP, and India. So if you'll see in each and every, in the right hand side, right most column, that they are talking about technical, that this technical that highlighted in red is coming common in everyone, right? So you have to just have to remove this this myth that software can be patented in US, but it cannot be patented in India and cannot be patented in EP. So in US also you have to satisfy this technical character, technical effect criteria. But the problem comes, see, your software is involved everywhere nowadays. Every product, every solution, everything which we are using, a software is running behind it, right? And from the technical effect perspective, or from the tangible, to show that technical effect, it becomes harder and harder for us when we go up on this ladder. So your computer program is also involved in the washing machine, for washing the clothes, for rotating the turbine. Your computer program is also involved in this robot to do some certain task. Your computer program is also involved in this client server architecture. right? Your computer program is also involved in the transmitter receiver technology and in the apps also. But if you will see, it becomes very difficult as we go up to show that technical effect, right? Because bandwidth you cannot, in this example where I have taken this example of transmitter receiver, and where the invention, for example, is related to how to optimize the bandwidth, you cannot show the bandwidth, right? But there is something happening because of your algorithm, because of your mathematical formula, because of your coding, right? But we cannot uh, prove this. We cannot, see this with the naked eye. So that's why we have to see in the next slides that how we can, strongly prove that yes, this invention is having this technical effect, and this kind of innovation is not having a technical effect. So I have taken few examples here. Can you guess what is this? What has happened to this guy?
Um, he accidentally, yeah, the mobile fell down from his hand.
Okay, so this is the result, right? So can you guess anyone the solution for this? Can anyone guess what could be the solution for this?
We can,
Yeah, it's a temper glass, then airbag for cell, airbag for mobiles, gel covers, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So we have a smart audience today. So you can see how these airbags, mini airbags, are implemented to protect your phone from damages. So what do you think? Uh, how this software hardware is implemented in this case? Software alone cannot do anything, right? In this case, also software is involved somewhere in your mobile device, right? And also the hardware is involved, your processor, your sensors, your airbags, which is actually popping out from the phone.
Yes.
So here, if you will see, so what do you think, whether it is patentable or not? Or if it is patentable, where is the technical effect? Where is the technical effect in this case?
yeah, so some answers are, how do we know whether it is, free falling, where it is falling, fall
Yeah,
detection, sensors.
yeah. So it is a combination of software and hardware. There are certain software which are running behind the sensors, which are sensing whether when your phone is coming into an airborne state, right? Whereas the other sensors are sensing what is the orientation of your phone, and the some another set of sensors are actually, when some threshold is met, is actually enabling these airbags to come out, writing. So if you will see in this invention, the what is the contribution of the software, what is the contribution of the hardware, and where actually the technical effect lies. So here the technical effect, can you guess what could be the technical effect here?
Airbags coming out of it.
Yeah, so what could so either it is an improvement in the technology or a tangible effect?
It's a tangible effect.
It's a tangible effect. Thank you. Yeah. So it's a tangible effect. Here the technical. So if someone uh, has programmed, has generated a software code which, in correlation with the sensors, are working to, to understand when your phone is coming into an airborne state, and it is not just like the childrens are playing catch with your phone, and where your surface is your bed, where your phone, even it falls from your hand, it's safe. So all these intelligence, of course, it will come from the software, right? But here the hardware is also playing some role. Here the contribution of hardware is to sense the data, surrounding data, to understand when it is coming into an airborne state, and also to pop out the airbags, right? So here software hardware and tangible effect, the technical effect, which is the technical. Hence, it is a patentable matter, subject matter. I'll take another example for you. Can you guess what is this?
Mobile communication.
A mobile communication, right? Where it's a simple architecture of a mobile communication where it is receiving station connected at one end from the base station at another end with the mobile station. And many of you would be knowing that a base station has a certain area which it serves, right? So when actually you moving from one place to another place, there is a technical term called as handoff. Your phone actually goes from one cell. Cell means that one region served by one base station to another region which is served by another base station. So the problem, what happens, that when the number of and you also know that there is a limited bandwidth in which uh, you have to make this communication happen. So when these mobile stations, number of mobile stations increases in that certain area, can anyone guess what could be a problem?
There will be a weak signal, so most of the phones may not be reachable or something.
Okay, any other problem?
Bandwidth issue.
Bandwidth issue, yeah. So the problems like call drop, network issues will come into the picture. So what could be the solution for this? Can anyone guess what could be the solution?
Having more gateways, compressing the data, compressing.
Who said compressing the data? So this is one of the solutions where we usually compress the data packets to optimize the bandwidth uses. So what do you feel, whether it is patentable or not? What is the, if patentable, what is the technical effect in this case? Earlier it was tangible effect.
Technical.
Yes. So what is the technical effect here? Whether first of all it is patentable or not?
Yes, it is patentable, Praveen.
Okay. Because why?
Because of this compressing of data packets, now the issues has been solved. So it's a technical improvement.
Yeah. So what do you think is the technical effect? Whether it is improvement in the technology computer or it is a tangible effect?
Technical.
It's a technology effect.
It's an improvement in the technology, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So it is of course, this invention is a patentable subject matter where it is assuming that the way you are compressing the data packets is novel, inventive, and also it is having a technical effect because it is providing an improvement in the technology related to the mobile communication, right? So I'll take another example. Can you guess what is this?
Praveer, we are also running out of time.
Okay, so yeah, so in another, I think only 2-3 examples have been left. So I'll complete it, I think, in 5 minutes.
So I think answer, it's unlock pattern, screen lock.
Yeah, so it is related to the pattern-based locking, which we daily use with our mobile phone. So can anyone guess the problem? What is the problem? The problem is that residue is left behind on your touch screen, which may allow your any unauthorized user to follow that residue and easily guess the pattern. So someone came with a solution for this problem by providing different nodes where you will set, for example, ABCD, and every time this ABCDEFGH will randomly be placed on your mobile phone, right? So every time when you have to unlock your phone, you have to use another different set of patterns. So what do you think? What is the technical effect here? So it is an improvement in the technology. It is an improvement related to the pattern-based locking technology. So here is another example of a traffic controller where the traffic data is collected from various regions of that city, and it is sent to a server, and the server then analyzes that data and understands the pattern, the traffic pattern, and then generates some report or generates or gives some input, so that the traffic could be managed very well. So in this also, your there is an improvement here. Also, you cannot see that data, you cannot see, that how this processing is being done. But here, something practical thing is happening. Something, improvement is happening related to the how to managing the traffic. So here, the improvement is in the traffic management technology. And the last example uh, is uh, uh, is an intelligent invigilator, where the sensors and some cameras will be placed in a room, and there will be no manual intervention, and that sensors will capture the movement, physical movement of the students sitting in that room, and compare that data with some threshold. So for example, someone should not look behind, someone should not walk inside. So all these data it will have already in the database, and it will compare the real time data captured with their sensors, with the physical movements, or if someone is talking to their databases, and then they will raise an alarm if there will be any discrepancies. So in that case,
Pravir, your voice got frozen for some time.
in this
Pravir, we're not able to hear you now. Hello. Venkatesh, would you be able to take this slide if voice is not coming?
Yeah, I think this was the last. I think this was the last slide that he had for presentation.
Okay.
Maybe we wait for a minute. If he doesn't start, then probably I'll share it from my side.
Sure, sure.
And take it from where he left.
Sure, sure. I think Pravir had a poor connectivity, is disconnected. So probably you can.
Okay. So maybe I'll just share the screen and.
Sounds good. Yeah, it has come. Case study.
Yeah. You can see it now, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now you would be aware what Pravir had mentioned. There are three things that one has to look for in software patents. One is the software aspect, but in combination with hardware. And the third thing is the technical effect. Now, what I'm going to show here is a couple of inventions which have been patented, and they are primarily in the software side. Now, the first invention is from Uber Technologies, which was filed in 2008. And it was granted in 2016. The title of this invention is Point of Interest Search Along a Route. Now, you know that Uber application has to do with car availing facility, but also it has source and the destination route that you place it in the app, and it is going to show you a route. But the problem that this invention highlights is that suppose you are traveling from a source destination to a source to a destination, and during that travel, if you encounter that the fuel tank is going to get empty, then typically, I think around 2008, the applications which were available would show us, if you look for a petrol bunk, it would show out of the way petrol bunk, where the driver may not be able to travel because of less petrol. A second option could be when the driver is on his way to destination, he may feel hungry, then he wants to go to a restaurant. At that point in time, in 2008, probably the application wouldn't allow the driver to change, or probably it will give him suggestions which are way out of the way. Now, what this invention tries to address is when a driver has started his journey or a user has started his journey from the source and trying to reach his destination, when he is interested in looking for, say, petrol bunk or a restaurant, the application is going to show him those point of interest along the current route so that the driver doesn't have to go away from his destination route. Now, this is the diagram which they have shown, where 202 reference is the starting point, 204 is the destination, which is already set in the application. And when the user or driver has started his journey along the route, he realizes that, for example, he may not have petrol to travel till 2004, which is the destination, and he starts looking for point of interest. In this case, it is a petrol bunk. So when he looks for it, the application is going to show him the petrol bunks which are available along the route and within a certain threshold, so that he is well within his limit to travel to that petrol bunk, but also he is along the destination. He's not wasting too much time. So this is the problem that they are trying to address. Now, this is the method claim which they have used. Don't get intimidated by the steps. I'll take you through the steps. The first line which says the method for providing a routing to a point of interest. Now, point of interest, as we know, in this case, consider it to be a petrol bunk. So first thing, what a user would do is, once he is into his vehicle, he is going to start the application so that he can start from source and try to travel to the destination. As we discussed a little while earlier, during the travel, the driver might realize that there is not much petrol for him to reach to destination. So what he does, he's going to give input saying petrol bunk nearby. So this invention is going to receive that as an input, and subsequently it is going to identify at least one point of interest located within the first threshold along the planned route. Now you should remember, this invention is to provide point of interest along the route, which means the first step of this method claim already takes into account the planned navigation route. And the second step is receiving the point of interest. Third step is the application itself is going to look for the petrol bunk, for instance. Once it identifies, it's going to show it on the, say, mobile phone. These are the steps. What you see from identifying till displaying are nothing but it is going to show real-time distance for the driver, how far he is from the point of interest. Now, this is purely, if you see, it's a method step, which can be, you can say that this is more like an algorithm, right? But written in the techno-legal language for getting a patent. Now, the same application, along with method, has something called a system. Now, if you realize, what Praveer would insist on is software alone can't be patented, but software along with the hardware to implement that software, in addition to a technical problem, would make the application or the invention patentable. Now, if you see here, they need these database to store a point of interest data, GPS system to have a real-time location. Third is the routing engine, which is nothing but a code or a processor or a hardware which is going to do all the calculation when you add a point of interest. Last thing is the user interface module, which could be your tablet or a mobile phone, where it is going to show a real-time information to the driver. Now, if you see, this invention was trying to solve a technical problem, and then it was addressed using a software in combination with hardware. Now we go to a second example from Wipro. If you see the title, it says method and system for dynamically generating multimedia content file. The term that is very important here is dynamically generating multimedia content file. The problem that this application tries to solve is, it says that typically the multimedia contents are stored in a database, and these are static, they don't change unless you update them at some point in time. When you have to create a multimedia content, these are static. So the contents are picked from database and they are assembled and they are telecasted to the user. The problem that this state of the art at that point was, this was, I think, somewhere in 2015-16, this application was submitted. So it says that existing method lack customizable content of media that is capable of interactively communicating with the users for rendering thoughts and intentions of the user in the media content. The technical solution they provide is a computer implemented method for dynamically generating a multimedia content file. How they do it? Say a user is going to give his input. It could be audio, video, it could be even text to a user interface, which is nothing but your say mobile phone or a tablet or a laptop. And then this is given to a unit, which they call it as multimedia content generator. It has a language processing module and a content database. The input is taken by the language processing module, which is audio or video or even text. And then the keywords are identified. And based on the keywords, the images are going to be collected from the content database, which already has a repository of, say, images. Based on the keyword, content will be selected from the database and a scene will be created based on the user input. Now, this is completely dynamic because user is giving input and the multimedia content generator is going to generate on the go and create a scene. Now, if you look at the claims, again, I've placed only those claim steps which are really important for us to understand what they have captured in their claims. It says that a computer implemented method for dynamically generating a multimedia content. What are the steps involved? First thing is receiving a description. Description is a very broad term, which typically we would use in drafting claims. But if you look at the definition of description, it says one or more non-textual forms. Now, non-textual forms are nothing but it could be audio, video as an input. Then in the next step, it is going to identify keywords from the description. And then third step is going to map it with the content which is there already in the database to generate one or more scenes. Finally, it is going to assemble all these images and generate a multimedia content. Now, this was the method part, which could be similar to a software or an algorithm, which has a sequence of steps that what is mentioned here. But this is complemented with a multimedia content generator. And this multimedia content generator is nothing but a system or a hardware which has a processor and a memory. Now, memory will have all the processor executable instructions, which a processor would execute. And the steps will remain the same as what we discussed in previous slide. Now, this was about the second invention. Third invention by IBM, which got recently granted in India, it says method and system for providing virtual computing environment for users in an organization. Now, problem that they are trying to address here is, this is very relevant to what we are currently facing, pandemic. So people are working from home. What happens to people who have recently joined the company and then there was a pandemic and people have to be trained? So this application or invention tries to address a problem. It says training remotely may not be easy, as providing right sets of technologies and computing platform for each trainee to suit their requirements becomes unmanageable. So IBM came up with a practical solution saying, okay, we could provide a virtual computing environment to one or more users who are part of the organization. So there are certain steps they have implemented. For example, they have an organization. There is a manager who is going to train his new joinees. Here it is referred as 104, one or more users. What would manager would do is manager would send a request to say a server with whatever requirements he has with the input parameters, and the server is going to, based on the requirement of the manager, is going to give him a set of virtual computing environment which suits his new joinees, and that is given to manager, and manager is subsequently going to pass on to the users so that they have a proper training experience. Now, if you briefly look at the claims, the method claims, it says that a method for providing a virtual computing environment. The steps involved here is receiving, again, first step is receiving a request from the manager. Second step is dynamically the virtual machines are created by the server. And third step is providing these configurations to the manager, who will pass it on to the users. Now, if you see all these three cases, and also there is a system involved here. So in all the three cases, if you see, the reason why the application were granted is because it has a software element which is implemented with a specific hardware, and also solves a problem, or it has a technical effect. So always remember, software per se or algorithm per se may not be possible to patent, but combination of these will definitely help you to. There is a high chance of possibility to get a patent for software implemented inventions. Now, this was all about the technical aspect. Now we move on to a non-technical aspect with respect to startups and timeline. Now, some of you or most of you would have already registered your startup, but this could be important. What happens when your startup is not a startup? So prior to that, I'll just briefly go through what is startup. By definition, in India, a startup could be any entity that is incorporated or registered in India. It should not be older than 7 years. If it is older than 7 years, you can't call it a startup. For biotech startup, it shouldn't be older than 10 years. Also, you should remember that annual turnover should be less than or equal to 25 crores in the preceding financial year. And a startup typically would work towards innovation, development, or improvement of product or processes or services. Now, what is not a startup? Entity which is formed by splitting or reconstruction of business which is already in existence. So if this is happening, then it doesn't qualify under startup. Second, the entity will cease to become a startup if the turnover becomes more than 25 crores in the previous financial year. And third, if entity has completed 7 years, more than 7 years, and for biotech 10 years, then it is not startup anymore. Now, startup registration, you can do it via mobile app or through portal of DIPP or through Startup India. And eligibility, being a startup, you're eligible for government schemes, but should be registered as one of the three: private limited companies, limited liability partnership, or registered partnership. And startup which are registered before the announcement of government schemes are also eligible, provided they fall under the definition of startup. Now, next thing, startup. Once you have your startup registered, you have worked on your invention, what is the next thing in the process? So you have an idea, you have a startup, you have an invention already, and then there is a technical specialist like Praveer and Indian Patent Office, or it could also be any foreign patent office. So typically you have invention, as Praveer explained to you, that all the details, technical details, including what is the problem existing in current state of the art, what is a solution, technical solution that you're providing in the invention, needs to be explained to the technical specialist. And the technical specialist is going to write a patent application, which is a mix of technical and legal language, which is required as per Patent Act. Now, coming to the timeline. So typical timeline is, it starts from filing a patent application in India. It is typically 18 months before this application gets published. Published means it becomes public, so anybody can have access to the application that is submitted. Prior to 18 months, it is not. Then the moment you submit your application and it becomes published, it doesn't mean that your application will be reviewed by Indian Patent Office. One has to file an explicit request for examination. Now, this can be done within 48 months from the filing of the application. But you can also do during filing. Once you have filed a request for examination, next thing is we can expect a examination report from the Indian Patent Office. Now, examination report is nothing but Indian controllers or the examiners are going to look at your application, and they are going to look at what is available in the public domain in terms of, say, papers, application, patent application, even patents, or even products, and they can cite those as an objection to your application. Now, once you get this objection, we would typically get 6 months for replying to this objection. And if you think 6 months is not enough, we need more time, maximum 3 months extension can be asked, and one has to pay a fee. Now, once you submit your reply to FER, next thing, what typically happens is you would get a hearing where we need to convince the controller or the examiner. But it may also happen that you may get a grant after your reply to FER. Now, after the hearing, we have 15 days to submit our response. Subsequently, if the examiner is convinced, he may give a grant or he may refuse. In case of refusal, we can file an appeal. The other thing is, when you're filing an application in India, being a startup, can ask for an early publication, which means instead of waiting for 18 months, the application can be published in, say, 1.5 months. At the same time, you can file a request for examination, expedited examination. When you file early publication and request for expedited examination, the publication will happen in 1 month. And from that point, you can expect the examination report within, say, 3 months from the examiner. So this will fast forward your grant process. So this is a typical timeline at Indian Patent Office, but this timeline you can also extrapolate to European and US Patent Office. There will be a slight difference, but typically this is the process that will be followed. There will be a publication, there will be a examination report, and then we have to write back saying the objections raised in the examination report are not right, and we are providing the support for overcoming those objections. Now, going forward, there is also something called as pre-grant opposition. Once the application gets published, anybody in the public would come to know, especially the competitors who are following your inventions very closely. They may file an opposition saying, hey, this invention of what is published is already disclosed in public domain, and they'll provide proof to the Indian Patent Office. Indian Patent Office, when they do examination, they consider it, they see whether it's relevant. If it's relevant, they'll cite it. If it's not relevant, they may not cite it. There is something called as post-grant opposition, which happens typically when the patent is granted. Within 1 year, interested parties can file an opposition. If the party files the opposition after 1 year, it's not considered. So it has to be within 1 year. Now, we spoke about startup and timelines for getting a grant. Now, what are the benefits that startup would derive? One is, now startup is categorized under a new entity type, which is clubbed with individual persons. Second, as compared to companies, application fee where companies would have to pay 8,000 rupees. For startup, it is only 1,600 rupees. Third thing is, if a startup requests for faster examination process, the fees is only 8,000. And the other thing, the startup could gain advantages. Once you file a request for examination, the controller has to dispose it within 3 months from receiving the request for faster examination. There are a couple of government schemes for startup. One of them is SIPP, Startup Intellectual Property Protection, which is pan-India. And recently it was extended to 2023. The idea here is to nurture and mentor innovative and emerging technologies among startups, and also to provide access to high quality IP services. Third thing, any startup can apply from DPITT. The government will check the certification of recognition given by DPITT. The second scheme, which is going to be, or which is to be look out for startups in Maharashtra, is something called as Maharashtra State Innovation Society. This is to empower startups who contribute significantly to Maharashtra's economic growth and create employment opportunities. It is applicable to any startups in Maharashtra. And there are first 125 to 150 startups will be recognized. So keep a tab on this if you're a startup from Maharashtra. And one of the benefits of this scheme is that up to 2 lakhs or 80%, maximum up to 2 lakhs for Indian patents, startup will be reimbursed in the patent filing cost, and up to 10 lakhs for the international patent applications. Compensations will be provided in 3 phases. First is during filing, second is prosecution, and third is as an award. I must also mention, there are other government schemes introduced by several state governments, which I have not covered here. It is just to give you a brief that there are such schemes which a startup can look forward to. So this completes the presentation from my side and Praveer. We thank all of you for this opportunity to share our knowledge from software patent point of view. Any questions, please feel free to ask us.
Thanks a lot, Praveer and Venkatesh. Question that has come during the app when they registered. There's a lot of startups are now working on AI ML, based technologies. Example, what we have currently at Sign is a startup which is working on medical images for detecting whether they are cancerous or not, whether they're looking at lung cancers. Based on certain patterns, they can identify if it is benign or what stage the cancer is from. What a radiologist does, it has been automated to some extent that can assist. It's like an assist tool to the radiologists. Is that
Right.
something which could be patentable?
Right.
Yeah, so I'll answer it.
Yeah, Praveer.
Yeah, thank you. So of course, here in this kind of invention or in this kind of product, here software is playing some part, your hardware is playing some part. Your software is actually controlling your hardware elements to go inside that body to detect where is that tumor, where is that variation which is deviating from the normal body conditions, and that compare that data. Right, see here, it is also important to understand what your data represents, right? In the computer related inventions, most of the things goes on data processing. We receive data, we process data, and we do something, right? So in some computer related invention, for example, it is related to reading data from the charts or reading data from the Excel sheet and predicting based on that data using different mathematical formula algorithms to what could be the best stock which is going to be shoot next day, right? Stock analysis. Here also there is some data. In that medical case also there is some data, but here the data is representing a non-technical thing in that stock market analysis thing, right? Here data is representing only the numbers, but here in this case the data is representing some physical things, some physical conditions of the body. If you remember in my last slide, I took the example of invigilator, intelligent invigilator.
Right.
So it was taking the data. In that case also the data is playing some role. So in that case the data was related to the physical movement, uh, opening and closing of the eyes, voice. So of course this is a patentable subject matter, subject to it should satisfy novelty, inventive step, and industrial application criteria.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll request the participants. We have at 4-5. Maybe if you have any questions, you can put in the Q&A box. Yeah. Question is regarding the timeline. So a person has filed in a provisional patent on 11th of Jan. So it is almost approaching a year, and he's asking if is it possible to get an extension to file the complete patent due to the current pandemic situation circumstances?
Yeah. So Varun, would you like to answer this?
Yes, am I audible?
Yeah.
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 So I think this would be difficult to get an extension of some months just because of the pandemic situation. Though, and also I cannot suggest that you can try and see, because usually the patent office would say if you have not filed on or before 11th, the application has been abandoned. What suggestion which I can give is you can ask for post dating of your applications. What does this mean? Patent office allows you to post date your provisional application maximum by 6 months. The problem only would be that you lose out the priority. But if it is like, if you think that in within a month or so you can file it, the suggestion would be to do the post dating. Post dating request has to be filed before 11th Jan 2021, and you have to mention that how many months you want with the requisite fee. The fee for startup would be 1,000 rupees per month. Coming back to the question, I feel it is difficult that you get the extension at the patent office saying that you could not file it, or you may not be able to file it before 11th Jan.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
there is a provision, but the provision is filing a post dating of your application up to 6 months.
Got it. Thanks. There was a question regarding the publication within 1 month that is available for, is it available only for startups, or what is the way of doing that fast publication within a month?
Yeah, so I'll answer. So whoever files this request for expedite publication, the publication would be the application would be published within a month. Usually we suggest not to file this request after 14th or 15th month. So this can be done only if you are doing or filing this request in second or third month. But do remember, you have to weigh the pros and cons of early publication. As soon as it is published, your application becomes open for pre-grant opposition. So I'm saying just as a precaution, because there are many companies who don't want this to be early published. They want to take the routine 18 months of time. So depending upon the requirement, you can think of.
So one thing I would like to add, one advantage of having that early publication is that in case if you're filing for an infringement suit in the future, your damages will be counted from the date of your infringement, date of your publication. So as early as you will publish your application, the time frame will increase. So this is one of the advantage of having early publication.
Got it. Nishant has an interesting question regarding the copyrighted code. How do you know if, how do you track the violation of the copyrighted code in India or outside? It's not tangible as such, but how to track that?
So frankly, honestly, I have never done this tracking ever before, and would not like to comment on this, that how this tracking could be done.
Okay.
So to answer this, I don't have the very concrete response, but only I can say is, at least what I have seen for the Microsoft is they have their internal team, and they would know. I think there would be some information that to understand whether this software is whether genuine copy or the pirated copy, and based on that they do it. But I don't know how exactly they identify it. But it has to be done. There is no team or the a legal agency or government agency who would do for you. You have to do it yourself. And as I said, there is no concrete answer like how would you do it.
So see, sometimes what happens when you encounter some product which is quite similar to your product, you would like to see the what is the source code of that product, and in that source code thing also there is a lot of complications. It is not everything that you have only coded. There is an open source software system, OSS thing is also involved. So you have to minutely check that what part of your software code has been copyrighted and what part of that has been infringed.
Thanks. I think the startup age, we got a comment that it is 10 years for all startups. I think we'll just check on that if it is 10 years for all. Another one is in terms of Naveen has asked, I would like to know more about patenting on emerging car technologies such as ADAS, 5G, and so on. What are some factors we need to consider for filing under this category? And they plan to do something on driver safety. So what parameters that should they look at while filing?
See, they have to look at what the technical effect that driving anomaly in the car you are bringing in. For example, if your car for example, if your car invention is related to detecting the driving anomaly of a driver, so lot of physical parameters your sensors will capture. So for example, one parameter will be the jerk energy, that how much jerk while traveling from one source to destination, how many jerk energy your system is your sensor is capturing, how frequently you are using the brakes, whether you are stopping suddenly stopping or braking at a very high speed. So all these data will be captured and analyzed, and then it will be sent to the server to determine whether you are going beyond some threshold, and hence it is a driving anomaly. But whereas, for example, if your invention is related to a non-technical thing, right? Then of course that will be a question that how it could be a patentable or not.
Thanks. We'll just take one last question. This is an example which I think Pravir took in the example of the pattern of the mobile example. We concluded that it is patentable. For something like this, is it possible to get the method patent before or without writing the software?
See, India provides two things to be patented. One is the product and one is the process. So whenever we write the claims, if you could have observed, it is like a system for doing something or method for doing something, right? Why we write system and method? Why not any another thing? Because whether either your product or your invention will be implemented as a system or will be implemented as a in a method form, right? So for example, if you have considering this the example of driving anomaly, now for example, you are not implementing it as a system, you are only providing as a software as a service, right, from the cloud. So here, so in that case, if someone is infringing your using it as a software as a service without your permission, then there the method claims will help you to in for the infringement perspective. Whereas whereas the person or the company who is actually implementing that invention into his or into their data centers or servers, there you will be your system claim will be helpful in proving that infringement. So that's why method and system. So of course in this also we can have a method claim, but of course in computer related inventions the method claims should be tied up with hardware, what kind of hardware is implementing that method. Otherwise it will there is a section called section 3M of the Indian Patent Act. It will go under that thing.
Got it. So Indian patent law allows only product and process, and system should be under the claim is.
No. See, product and process means system and method.
Okay.
Product means system, process means method. So it depends. So if your invention is related to your pen, so you will not write a system. That language will not fit. You will write a writing apparatus, or you will directly write a pen, right? If your invention is related to chair, then you will not use a system for sitting, right? That language will not fit.
Right.
You will write directly, yes. So it's a choice. Yeah.
Got it. Great. I mean, this is very insightful session.
One more thing apart from this, India allows product and process. So that's why in India we have a system and method claims, but in US and EP, they also allow, apart from system and method, article for manufacture. So especially that article for manufacture is useful in the software computer related inventions, where you can sell your code into an CD, right? because in the system claim we generally write what? System comprising processor, memory, this sensor, that sensor doing this, right? This way, this is the way to prevent other party, है ना? Method claim will prevent the other party from using it at a software as a service or another kind of method. But if someone is selling that thing in a CD, then how you will protect it? So USNEP also allows article of manufacture, that is the CPP claim, computer program product claim, which we used to draft. But India, it is not allowed. It is not in the category.
Okay, great. Thanks. I learned quite a lot, which I've noted down.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, Rakesh, sorry. So
yeah,
in case you're closing, Varun here. So I will take one question, which seems to be a
sure.
very basic question, but it is very important. Though the word here used is software, but it says like, can a software be released in the market while patent application is in progress? So please, for all the startups or for all the inventors or the applicants, like once you file your application, you are free to release, free to market, free to discuss all the things. Important is not to disclose before filing. Indian Patent Office, you have the what do you say, available mechanism which allows you to file your provisional, which is like usually called as a broader application. Take 12 months of time and then file your complete application. So you can do that. This is important. So to answer, yes, you can release once you file your patent application, at least a provisional patent application. Thank you, Rakesh.
Great. Thanks. For people who have been asking slides, I'm just telling them that the recording of this can be available on the Sign YouTube channel. Yeah, and I will also request, I just put the link for the Sign YouTube. Please subscribe and like. I will also request you to also give feedback to the speakers as well as to Sign on how we could improve the sessions. And so once again, Venkatesh, Praveer, Varun, I would like to thank you on behalf of Sign for this very insightful and interactive session in the startups, and a very pertinent topic. With a lot of AI/ML startups coming up in India, and you gave a good insight into what is the key necessary conditions for patenting, and also case studies on Uber and Wipro, which was very insightful for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rakesh.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Rakesh.
Yes.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.
You too. Bye.